The internet is a scary place, especially in this time and age. The internet became an essential tool by the mid-90s, from chat rooms to disturbing sites depicting grotesque media. Speaking of chat rooms and related forums, creepypastas, short stories posted by users, would start appearing on the internet during the 2000s. You may have heard of these online urban myths around. It spawned iconic characters such as Jeff the Killer and Slenderman. Slenderman became a creepypasta sensation. The internet could not get enough of this lanky, scary boy. We got a web series, games, spin-offs, an abysmal film adaptation, documentaries surrounding not just the myth around Slenderman, but a real-life crime. All to appease a fictional character. And to think, this all started thanks to a Photoshop contest. The internet became a much bigger outlet for urban legends than your average Bloody Mary or the babysitter and the man upstairs. So let's talk about how horror utilised the internet as a tool. You may or may not have heard of the term techno-horror, a subgenre in horror films, games, and even literature, the ghost in the machine trope. By the late 90s and early 2000s, filmmakers and creators in general used the internet as a tool to scare its audience. One of the earlier examples is a film named Cairo, also known as Pulse, released in 2001. The film follows the protagonists experiencing paranormal events through their computers and hardware. The film was wildly praised. Unfortunately, Hollywood would take that concept and ruin everything, as is tradition. Soon after, the techno-horror trend would continue, with films like Fear.com, a remake of Pulse, Unfriended and its sequel Unfriended Dark Web, and Friend Request would centre around the internet with supernatural elements. Even a Hellraiser sequel would capitalise on the trend. Ooh, young Henry Cavill. But that's just some of the films. What about games? Well, let's take a look at some recent fine examples. And before we delve into the deep dive on the games I've selected, I'd like to give a special shout out to Stay Alive, a film based around a killer video game, where if your character dies in the game, it also kills you in real life. It was not a cinematic masterpiece, but it was a B-grade effort that I enjoyed, especially as someone who loves horror games. Now let's move on to the next topic, the terrors of the internet in gaming. The reason why I thought about covering this topic in the first place was because I recently watched the trailer for an upcoming indie horror game titled Dark Web Streamer. I have always been invested in the psychological aspect of this kind of topic rather than just your average jump scare schlock. While the trailer doesn't reveal anything specific, this isn't a new concept. Recent games such as Parasocial and Among Ashes, both indie titles, touched upon the terrors of the internet. I've played both of these games upon release because the subgenre is very relevant right now. So let's take a look at Parasocial first. Before we dive in, this video will contain major spoilers for the game. What is the definition of parasocial? Let's get up the dictionary. Parasocial. Involving or relating to a connection between a person and someone they do not know personally, for example, a famous person or a fictional character. For many fans, it is the strong parasocial association with the star, which acts as the incentive to seek out like-minded people. It is not uncommon to have daydreams about your favourite celebrity. We've all been there, but it becomes a problem when these daydreams become an obsession. It starts interfering with your life to the point of living out that fantasy, which can lead to serious offences such as stalking or even intent to harm, and Chiller's art Parasocial perfectly encapsulates that. So let's take a look at the story. We play as Nina, a gaming streamer. Waking up from a nap, we get a message from a friend, Asuka, who made us Nikujaga. Man, we all need a friend like Asuka. Checking our inbox, we have messages from our mum, as well as Rikuya, Nina's ex who wants to get back together. Nina eats her food and prepares for her stream, running VTuber avatar software first. As she is streaming a game, Akamanto, turns out it's a bit too hard for our liking and it's game over. However, a viewer, whose username is I Love Nina, that's slightly concerning, sends a link to a game for her to stream. Now, I wouldn't be downloading anything without running it through an antivirus software first. I learned that the hard way when I destroyed the family PC using LimeWire, but what can you do? Alas, Nina downloads the game and starts playing it. Her comment section goes wild. Turns out the VTuber app stopped working, and her face is revealed on stream. Understandably, Nina is freaked out and ends the stream. She receives a message from an unknown person threatening her to continue streaming the games she was sent, or bad things will happen. She finds a letter at the front door, reading, "I'm always watching over you."
Always watching.
The next day, Nina scans her PC but finds no viruses. Nina starts cleaning up and receives another anonymous message, threatening her once again. Taking the trash out, she's greeted by a police officer, who is acting pretty weird, saying he's volunteering to collect rubbish, and all of a sudden asks Nina if she lives by herself. You have the option of saying yes or no, but when in doubt, always say there's someone with you. Strength in numbers. With that awkward interaction, she goes to throw out the trash and bumps into this cooked unit. Asuka arrives and the two go to Chilla's cafe. This bloke gives a fair warning. "Thanks, James." Asuka and Nina chat about what happened the previous night. Nina tells her that she received a threatening message, so Asuka tells Nina that ignoring the threat may make the situation worse, and tells her to keep streaming the game. All of a sudden, this creep decides to barge in on their conversation. "Can I help you?" Surely enough, as soon as Asuka turns around, the dweeb runs off. Returning to her condo, Nina streams a new game, as instructed by her stalker. In the chat, the user who sent the game links comments how they go to Chilla's cafe too. God damn! She clears the level and calls it a night, ending the stream. Nina decides to run herself a bath. While bathing, you can see a cabinet door opening. That is alarming. The next day, Nina finds a note from the building's manager to contact them if she has any issues. You have the option to call them or ignore it, so I chose not to bother with it. As she is streaming, the creepy viewer comments asking if she enjoyed her bath last night. While playing, Nina gets spooked by the TV turning on by itself. Finishing another level, Nina gets the munchies, but has no food in the fridge, so she places an order to be delivered. Someone shoves a bouquet through her front door, but there's no one out there. The delivery guy turns up, but where's the food? He asks her what she ordered, and all of a sudden, the guy tells Nina that he recognizes her as the VTuber who had her face exposed. He tells her he's a huge fan. That's great and all, but where's the food? He's like, "Lol, I don't know, but you shouldn't be opening the door without the security chain." Can't the poor girl just get her food and eat in peace? Well, that was a bust, so we gotta track it to the convenience store. At night, alone, with a stalker on our tail. Let's go. On her way, she bumps into the building manager having a ciggy, asking Nina if she lives alone, before going on a tangent as to why Nina is single, and suddenly stops herself from saying anything else, telling Nina to reach out if she needs anything. Why is everyone being so weird? Anywho, Nina gets to the store. While shopping, a hooded creep stares at her and begins to follow her around. Nearing the checkout, Nina notices the same guy from the cafe waiting outside the store. Also, it turns out the creep in the hoodie is Rikuya, Nina's ex. He accosts her, saying he has proof about Asuka being dodgy and tells Nina to unblock him so he can send her the evidence. Leaving the store, the creep from the cafe is back and begins to give us a chase. Running back home, the guy runs into the elevator with Nina, but doesn't do or say anything, just stares at Nina menacingly. Back home, Nina messages Asuka, freaking out. Asuka tells her to lock the doors and not to contact the police in the meantime, as Nina has no real evidence. Asuka then tells her to go to the police in the morning and apologizes that she can't go with her as she's away on business. Nina immediately gets another message, this time from the stalker, asking her what she and Rikuya talked about, as well as trying to convince her that she shouldn't trust Asuka. And then we get this bombshell. Love hearts and all. Nina also gets a message from the building manager. She sends Nina a photo of the stalker talking to Asuka, stating that Asuka was seen with the stalker earlier today. Asuka mentioned she's away due to work, so Nina decides to block Asuka, thinking she is working together with Nina's stalker. Nina goes on her PC and her VTuber avatar begins talking to her, gaslighting her. Shortly after, she hears sounds, so she goes to investigate. The stalker is inside Nina's place, so we got a bolt. Nina finds a screwdriver and takes him out. Nina then goes to the front door but is stopped in her tracks by Asuka, now having pitch black eyes, and stabs Nina. But it was just a bad dream. Waking up from a nap, Nina sets out to go to the police and is approached by the officer from the start of the game. The police officer agrees to take a statement, but opts to do it outside of the police box, coaxing Nina into believing that she would be more at ease in public. When Nina recounts her story, he tells her that the stalker and hacker are probably the same person. However, without any evidence, he can't do anything. Towards the end of the chat, he tells Nina to contact him directly if she needs help, as calling the police line will take too long. Alright, buddy. Returning home, Nina has another option, whether she wants to unblock Asuka. Upon unblocking her, Nina fesses up and says she blocked her due to her current trust issues. Nina asks Asuka to come over, but doesn't get an immediate response. Eventually, Asuka replies and says she'll come over shortly.
20 minutes later.
Asuka arrives and the two have a chat. Nina tells her the reason why she blocked her in the first place is because she saw a photo of Asuka and the stalker together. Asuka explains that he stopped her and would continue stalling her every time she tried to leave. He wouldn't say anything to her and eventually he walked away. It all makes sense now, as someone was trying to frame Asuka and make her look as though she was betraying Nina. As Nina goes to stream, Asuka heads to get groceries. Playing a new level, Nina realizes the surroundings are of her own neighborhood. She abruptly ends the stream, and the stalker is inside of her place, recording her. She receives the recording. It's a Nina compilation, from her taking a bath, to sleeping, to streaming. Now, Nina needs to make a choice. Who will she contact to get help? Well, that's up to us. This will determine which ending we'll get. If Nina decides to call Rikuya, he tells her he'll come over immediately to save the young damsel in distress. Going to hide, she receives a message from the stalker, saying he's coming over. I don't remember inviting this bozo. In her room, she finds a knife and hides. The stalker is giving us a countdown. This is the worst game of hide and seek. Nina leaves her hiding spot and she faces off with the stalker. But never fear, Rikuya, the knight in shining armor, comes to save the day. He gives the stalker a chase, then rushes back to Nina. Nina recounts what happened. Turns out the stalker was caught by the police, who admitted he was Nina's #1 fan. He got so obsessed to the point he believed that they were in a relationship. Feeling a sense of great debt to Rikuya, Nina decides to give him a chance. Sometime later at the cafe, Rikuya goes on a mission to get Nina flowers. What a catch. Nina bumps into Asuka and we get this shocking revelation. Turns out the stalker was hired by Rikuya to spook Nina, so she would run back into his arms. Well, shit. Who could have guessed? Nina regrets her decision and we get to retry. The good and/or true ending plays out similarly. This time we contact Asuka, as we should have in the first place. Calling Asuka, we hear the phone ringing from the balcony. Going over to investigate, Nina goes next door through the balcony door. Inside of the neighbouring condo, she finds the stalker's den. All of the footage and photos that he has been taking of Nina the whole time. Going into the bathroom, Nina finds Asuka, who's being held captive. Nina runs to the police to get help. The stalker begins to give chase. Along the way, Nina bumps into the building manager and the police officer who try to stop her, but I say, leg it. Finally, Nina reaches the police box and the screen fades to black. Following that night, Nina and Asuka watch the news, revealing that the 4 suspects have been caught. And there's a twist. Turns out that Rikuya not only hired a random to stalk Nina, but also involved his mother and uncle, guising as the building manager and police officer to get closer to Nina. With the perps arrested, Nina and Asuka sit down to eat, and Asuka mentions that the game developer of Akamanto released a new game, titled The Convenience Store. Chill is up, breaking the 4th wall. Asuka says that the game should be easier for casual gamers like Nina. Rude. Roll credits. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Beware of anonymous links. Get a restraining order. Perhaps even move to a different continent. Parasocial portrays the real psychological aspect of how obsessive people can get with an influential person. It's happened in real life so many times, and not just with celebrities. It can happen to anyone, and the internet makes it so much easier to gain access to someone's personal life. The next entry, however, will knock your socks off, so stick around for Among Ashes. Just like with Parasocial, there will be major spoilers ahead, and Among Ashes does centre around very heavy subject matter, so proceed with caution. Among Ashes was released in December last year. The game starts off with our unnamed protagonist playing knockoff Doom. Sorry, Doomed.
Shh! You wanna get sued?
We get a message from our friend Mark, who sends us a link to a game titled Nightcall. Now, I'm no IT expert, but the game takes place in 2001, and I simply refuse to believe that the 172 megabyte file downloaded within seconds, but I digress. Right off the bat, Nightcall has nods to Silent Hill and Resident Evil, from the viewer discretion warning to the creepy mansion. In Nightcall, we play as Officer Jack King. Jack and his partner Amy have been dispatched to investigate a noise disturbance at the Stoker mansion. We are greeted by Lorelei, the housekeeper. Jack wishes to speak to Dr. Stoker, the owner of the mansion. So off we go. The doctor doesn't give us any information, confused as to why the police are here. In the office, a letter reads, "Can you see me?" Just as Jack and Amy are about to leave, they hear a scream from the second floor. Lorelei blurts out that it's Catherine, Dr. Stoker's wife. That information may have been useful at the start, Lorelei. We get a key to the master bedroom, and upon entering the room, it seems like Mrs. Stoker has been expiring for some time. When leaving the room, Mrs. Stoker, now a zombie, jumps on Jack. We get a first combat tutorial. With Mrs. Stoker dead for the second time, Amy and Jack retreat downstairs. The front door is now locked, and all of the residents have vanished. In the living room, Amy is bitten, so she stays in the room while Jack goes to investigate the doctor's office again. A locked drawer appears, but we have no idea how to solve it. But thanks to our friend Mark, he sends us a link to the puzzle walkthrough. As the player in the real world, we'll be receiving messages from Mark from time to time as the story progresses, giving us more clues and information about the game and its creator. With the riddle solved, we get a key to the kitchen and find a bloodstained book. The book belongs back in the office, which opens a secret door. However, upon returning, we see the same apparition as before. This time she is not budging. Moving forward, a light goes out, and she's gone. Just kidding, we got ourselves our first jump scare. Opening the secret door, we enter the Mad Doctor's laboratory, and in the morgue, we get ourselves another puzzle. The lab has several expired test subjects that didn't make the cut. Seems like the experiment has a 0% success rate. Solving yet another puzzle, now it's time to investigate the grounds. In order to open the gate, we have to venture through a labyrinth while being taste sampled by the resident zombies. With the gate open, we venture through a graveyard. Doc must have a hefty fortune to be able to afford his own personal graveyard. In one of the crypts, we get ourselves a nice upgrade, a shoddy. We come across tombstones, some that have nice OG horror game references, and the word liar, as well as one for Lorelei. Very sus indeed. We grab a key to the greenhouse and face off with Dr. Stoker. That mofo was using flashbangs. Oi, stop that. During the fight, there is some concerning dialogue that was not meant to be programmed. Looks like Nightcall is bleeding into our reality, conversations which shouldn't be happening. One in particular is where Dr. Stoker blames David, the actual creator of Nightcall, but there's no indication as to why. With Dr. Stoker dispatched, we get a key to Derek's room, the son of Dr. Stoker, and see the doc getting pulled into the ground by tree tentacles. Returning to the manor, decaying bodies of a woman and two children sit at the dinner table. What the hell is going on? Mark, our rookie investigator, has dug up more information on David, the creator. A news article from 1988 informs us that Karen, David's mother, attempted to poison herself, David, and his little sister Amanda, and while the children were resuscitated by their father Frank, Karen was not as fortunate and died. Mark is also flipping out, refusing to play the game, even though our protagonist is pleading with him to finish it. Mark decides to dig up more info on David while we continue playing. When switching back to Nightcall, we cannot move. I honestly thought the game glitched out, but boom! Another jump scare. Holy hell. We go up to the room and find Derek. What you doing there, little buddy? Just staring at the static on TV? Okie dokie then. We find a music box on a nightstand, but we need the combination, so I guess it's playtime. We're playing a game, within another game. It's a gameception. 3 games for the price of 1. What a bargain. We play the platformer, and if you're like me, you're gonna keep dying. Our mission is to retrieve a seed from the Tree of Life. Once we have it, credits play out giving us a hint. Unfortunately, the year or the code needed for the lock is randomized, so upon multiple playthroughs, it's gonna keep changing on you.
It's all good changing on me!
Opening the box, there is nothing inside. However, music starts to play, and it's coming from inside our apartment. In the living room of our apartment, we pocket a lighter and there's Karen in the corner. Get out of here, woman! Resuming the game, we have the same lighter now. What to do with it? On the same floor, in a spare room, a painting of a ballerina rests on the wall. And when there is a smell of gasoline, there's fire. Beyond the now burnt painting, a secret room lies ahead, and we got ourselves another puzzle. A children's book gives us a hint on how to solve it. We take the 3 monkey toys and arrange them as per instruction. We get ourselves yet another key, and the ankh symbol is very familiar. In the servant quarters, there's a lift we've encountered previously, so off we go. Reaching the lift, we need another code, but we are whisked away to our apartment. A calendar with a burnt fingerprint on a specific date gives us the code. 1612. Punching the code in, we travel down to the depths of only God knows what. We encounter the little girl seen before, Karen's ghost, and a new entity, the same one as seen under our bed and the one pulling Dr. Stoker's body into the ground. It's hunting season. Let's go. The monster gives us a chase and we come across a door. We retreat inside and it looks like we're in a school setting. We enter a classroom. A locked lunchbox sits on a desk. Needing 3 keys to unlock it, we step out into the void. It's another tunnel, but no need to be worried. Our touchy monster is nowhere to be seen, but always stay on your toes. You never know when he's gonna pop up. We enter what looks to be a factory. A hallway on our left is open, so we march forward. The red key is by far the easiest. Just grab it and keep going. There he is. Another day, another chase. 1 key down, 2 more to go. We are pursued yet again, running through yet another maze. Honestly, I think the arrows are misleading, so I ran in the opposite direction and eventually came across another room. This is actually a head trip of a puzzle. To operate the levers, we have to go between a game and our apartment to open the doors. Just back and forth. With the second key in the lunchbox, a new door opens. It takes us through a dark corridor, where we get a key to our roommate's bedroom. Seems like getting the last key will not be as easy as the first 2. It is no longer Amelia's room. Looks like Amanda has moved in. The monster shows up and wants to play a game of hide and seek. Armed with nothing except our lighter, there are carvings on the walls in different languages, with phrases like help me and accept deal. But what deal? At this point, we know that the little girl is Amanda, David's younger sister. Looks like Amanda and the monster have become besties in the void. Running through a forest, we eventually come across a shrine to a deity, Kali Dusev. Looks like our monster has a name. I'm guessing this is a fictional pagan deity. I even looked the name up and I came across a forum on Steam, with the actual developer of Among Ashes commenting on it, without giving away too much info. It is interesting though. The name Sev derives from Seb. The name translates to God of the Earth, so I guess we are up against a dark pagan deity who likes to play hide and seek. Running through colour-coded hallways, unlocking them as we are pursued, eventually getting back into our apartment. Once we're back in our room, all of the furniture is gone except for our chair and PC, beckoning us to play Nightcall again. The game save file is gone, so we restart Nightcall. The game is now fully corrupted, with glitched and warped imagery. Going back upstairs, in a room, a statue with a chest appears, needing another code. Resuming Nightcall, we are back in a classroom. This time a clue on the blackboard is shown. Going back and forth between the game and reality again, we come up with the combination and retrieve the last key needed to unlock the lunchbox. During this, we get a message from Mark, who has been AWOL for some time. He sends a new article link detailing a fire incident from 1992, claiming the lives of David's father Frank and his sister Amanda. We also get a new message, this time from Amanda, claiming the article is a lie and tells us to keep playing to see the real truth. With the key retrieved, we open the door with a tree sigil on it, the sigil we have seen during the game. Beyond, we come across Amy, who is now in the same outfit as Lorelei. She's trying to seduce us, but we politely reject her advances. The monster appears and impales her. It is now time for the final boss fight. Now, for the sake of this video, I recorded my second playthrough using a censored setting, because the monster's original design is a bit too phallic for YouTube, and we don't need that. The fight is overall pretty easy once you figure out the monster's weak spots. When in doubt, always shoot the glowy things. With the fight done and dusted, Amy reappears and now morphs into Amanda. We are now seeing the conversation through David's eyes as he profusely apologizes to her. Amanda says that we can't save her. Amanda reveals that not only did he conceal the truth, but David had also started the fire in 1992. We're back in our room, which is now on fire, so we escape through the front door. From here, we are teleported to David's family home, the day of that tragic incident. The doors downstairs are locked, so we head upstairs. In Frank's room, we retrieve the key needed to unlock the door. The room is a mess, with clothes and beer cans scattered everywhere. Going into Amanda's room, we see a harrowing sight. We find Amanda on her bed, lifeless. In her room, there is a drawing of a girl standing by a tree. I will expand on that in just a moment. Downstairs, we unlock the door and find a father's lifeless body on the table, along with a letter addressed to David.
My dear David. Son, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope you find it in your heart to forgive me. Forgive me for not doing this before. Forgive me for turning into this monster. I'm broken, David. I always have been. Even before your mother. Hell, maybe I broke her too. Maybe she was trying to escape me. Rescue you from me. Rescue Amanda. Poor sweet Amy. I didn't want to hurt her, son, I swear. I never wanted to hurt anyone. Maybe it's for the best that she's gone now. No more pain. No more tears. I hope you learn from my mistakes. Goodbye.
No flames can burn away his sins. Among ashes, the truth remains.
David, in a state of shock, despair, and anger, sets the house on fire, burning away any evidence of what actually happened. After the cutscene, a player wakes up in his room once more, receiving a message from Mark. It's a link to a news article. In the chat, you can also notice that the whole conversation about Nightcall and the previous links sent have been erased, like it never happened. Clicking on the link, the article states that David was found dead on 5th of December 2001, approximately 2.5 weeks before Among Ashes takes place. The article mentions that his body was found weeks later after he overdosed. We try to get a hold of Mark, but now it looks like we're talking with Amanda. She states that Mark wouldn't play the game and wouldn't listen to her story, using the game as her interpretation of the tragic life she had. We then get a video attachment, aptly titled "I'm Sorry." Upon watching it, we see Mark's end. Before we wrap up, there is a lot to unpack here. Now, I've played the game twice to see if I could get a better understanding of the story. This is only my brief interpretation, and I could be wrong, but this is my take on it. David was working on Nightcall for a while. On the 4th of December 2001, the game file was renamed to "I'm Sorry" and uploaded to his website, just a day before his body was found. However, in the article about David's death, it was determined through autopsy that he died weeks prior to being found. He also died in the same way as his father, by overdosing. But did David take his own life, or was this the work of Amanda? I believe it was the latter. Dr. Stoker was the embodiment of Frank Smith, David and Amanda's father. When you were fighting Dr. Stoker, dialogue that wasn't meant to be programmed seeps in, like "you know what I did to her and you said nothing." It's clear that David abused Karen, as stated in a letter addressed to David towards the end of the game. This abuse would drive Karen to poison herself and the kids to escape him. Frank would gaslight David from an early age, so he would stay silent about Frank's abuse towards Karen and then Amanda. The drawings in Amanda's room show her standing by a tree. I believe that she would venture there to escape the abuse, where she would carve her pleas. as seen during the hide-and-seek chase. After her death, her pleas were answered. The deity, Kali Dusev, had allowed Amanda to corrupt the game, so she could tell the real story. But what did it want in exchange? Perhaps to feed on new victims lured by Nightcall. In another forum, dated a couple of days later, players comment on how they're being impacted by the game, with one comment standing out: "She found me. Keep playing." I'm guessing this is no longer Plague Doc, but Amanda warning others to finish the game. Anyone who downloads and plays the game will be marked by the curse. So the question is, what will happen to those who play it? And with that, we've come to an end. I'm not going to lie, playing Among Ashes for the second time was daunting, purely because of the subject matter, but I feel like it needed to be discussed. As always, if you have any suggestions for the channel and its content, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe.
Do it.
Stay safe, my friends. Don't click on any links that seem ingenuine. I'll see you next time.